Well, hey there, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Rate the Record podcast, episode 135. Thank you very much for joining me today. I'm your host, Chris, as always, here in my studio, full of musical posters staring at me all the time while I do musical reviews, and then I have you join along because that's what this whole music commentary thing is about. I give opinions, you do too, so I'm glad that you decided to join me today. So once again, thank you very much for hanging out and doing that today. And just a reminder that if you like what you see and or hear on the podcast today, there is one thing, a bunch of things, or all the things I'm about to list that you can literally do right now or at any point in the podcast to show your support for it. And they are the following: like, subscribe, rate, share, comment, and follow. 6 quick, free, and easy things, again, that you can literally do at this very second. Just one of them, a bunch of them, all of them, doesn't really matter. It all shows support. My heart swells 3 or 4 sizes, but in a positive way, not one that'll kill me. I appreciate the support, so thank you very much if you choose to do those things. And again, you can find all the places to do those things over at ratetherecord.ca. That is ratetherecord.ca. The streaming links, the social media links, the RTR album chart with every single album rating over there right now in order, so you can check that out. And of course, the financial way, the optional financial way to support the show, if you like it that much, is the RTR Club. For $3 a month, what will that get you? Early access to episodes, sometimes upwards of 72 hours. You'll get a shout out on social media and even on one of the episodes closest to when you actually join the RTR Club. You will be able to request songs for me to do, or no, albums for me to do here on the show. I'm already forgetting everything. If you are in a band and you want me to review one of your songs, I'd be glad to do that. I'd like to gather a whole bunch of these little reviews, make it into a big video, and so that way, boom, free exposure and everything like that. I know exposure doesn't pay the bills, but that's the very least I can do. But regardless, all of those things can be found in the RTR Club if that sounds interesting to you, and it can be found at ratetherecord.ca. Alrighty then. So, for episode 135 today, I'm taking a look at an artist that has not been looked at on this show since season 2 of the podcast, way the hell back when there was 2 of us doing this actual show. If I had to remember correctly off the top of my head, because I wasn't looking, I think it might be episode 42. It was like 41, 42, or 43. It was one of those. But regardless, this is the second coming of Frank Zappa, and today we're taking a look at his 1976 album, Zoot Allures. That's right, I actually have the copy to show for once. I've gone a long time without having a copy to show, but I actually have one. It's a used copy. It's much older, but you know what? I like it all the same. And not only that, I think my dad bought this for me, if I'm not mistaken. So, pretty cool. I take care of it. Still plays well, so why the hell not? And there's back just goofy pictures of the band. And if you look closely, you can see Frank Zappa's bulge on the album cover. But I'm not going to zoom in on that because I don't think YouTube likes that. What YouTube likes is consistency in content, so I might as well keep this podcast consistent by moving along and telling you just a little bit more about the album before we actually get into the review. Zoot Allures is the 22nd album by multi-instrumentalist and multi-genre artist Frank Zappa. It was officially released in North America on October 29, 1976 through Warner Records Inc. The album is a hybrid studio and live album with portions recorded at various venues. For the most part, it was recorded at Record Planet Studios in LA and was produced by Zappa. Aside from various guest musicians, Zappa was the main musician featured on the album, credited with bass, guitars, keyboards, lead vocals, and synth. The only other prominent musician on the album was Terry Bozzio on drums and backing vocals, and he would be a prominent member for the majority of Zappa's career. Though not a highlight of his vast career, Zoot Allures is still generally viewed positively amongst fans and critics, as it currently sits with a 4 out of 5 on AllMusic. The album only technically appeared on 2 charts, including number 82 in Australia and number 61 on the Billboard 200. The project spawned 2 singles: Find Her Finer, which features one of Zappa's heroes, Captain Beefheart on harmonica, and Disco Boy. And there you have it, a little bit more about the album, just in case you didn't know. There's not tons to know about this one in particular, but at the same time, there's a lot of Zappa albums out there. There are tons, so finding very particular tidbits about one or another can sometimes be a little difficult, but that's okay. We have this one today, so let's enjoy it. And we're going to start with song number 1, Wind Up Working in a Gas Station.
Many they can
And as it fades out on those falsettos right there, song number one, Wind Up Working in a Gas Station. Super fun start to this album, absolutely. Great faster paces there mixed in with some good halftime feeling ones. Kind of feels like the time signature's all over the place too, which I think is kind of fun. Just keeps a little more interest in the song. And that first verse has like an excellent usage of those like really fuzzy bass tones, because like the bass runs like a little high for a bit and then it dips down really lower, and you can just really hear how just like rumbly those tones are. I really like that. I think the bass sounds really cool throughout this entire song too. It's not just that, like even towards like the choruses and the refrain and everything like that. It's got like a weird, not wah pedal effect, but there's something on it. I don't really know what it is, but I like the sound of it. I think it's pretty neat. Yeah, it's funny though, because this song is only 2 minutes and 30 seconds, and yet it still feels like it kind of stretches a little bit. And that's saying a lot, really. I think a lot of that has to do with the repetition of the refrain at the end of the song. Like the second half of the song is like a lot of the same damn thing over and over again. Like it doesn't really turn into anything else. It just fades out on that wind up working in the gas station refrain. So I don't know if maybe they did something a little different with it. It would have been fine ending the way it was, but just that actually made it feel longer than it actually was. So that's kind of crazy. Little unfortunate too. I'm not super huge on the falsettos. They can be fun. They can be used properly. And I mean, it happens a lot in Zappa's discography, but I don't know. Songs like this, I'm just not huge on for that particular reason, but I will say it's still a decent start to the album. How about that? Anyways, let's see how it gets now with song number 2, Black Napkins. I'll cut it off there because it bleeds right into the next song. The song number 2, Black Napkins. So fun fact about the song, just in case you didn't know. So most of it, if not all of it, was actually pulled from a live recording that they did in Osaka, Japan in early 1976. Then it was I believe it was slightly overdubbed and edited in studio in LA. So you're kind of getting best of both worlds there. You wouldn't be able to tell. Like if no one had told you that, if I didn't tell you that, if you didn't already know that, then you probably would have never been able to tell. So I guess it's just good on the editing front. Although it sounds like really off the floor with this one, because just like it's just a big, long, moody, and mellow jam like all the way through this song. So it could have been played in the studio. It could have been played live. It doesn't matter. You would have been able to guess. It's just a very fun jam thing. And that's the thing about Frank Zappa too. Like, he has excellent jam tunes, but I'm pretty sure you already knew that. People either know him as being like this kind of weird, quirky kind of guy, or just the guy with insanely long jams. And you're right on both fronts, realistically. But a song like this is a real good indicator of like just kind of jamming that he can do and that the band is capable of. He was very tight with it, and he was also very particular about how he wanted things to go. So I can imagine working with him might have been a bit of hell, but it could have been very fun if you knew what you were doing and you were in the pocket like he was. So songs like this are pretty fun. And speaking of the song too, like the guitar kind of adds a lot of chaos and energy to a very otherwise darker feeling, and as I said, moodier type of track. But it's still a lot of fun. I still really appreciate what this one's doing. I just like the slow down, just I don't want to say bluesy nature of it, but just as I said, darker, I guess is the best way to put it. The ending kind of takes a bit of a twist that doesn't really feel like it fit as well, though. Maybe live it bleeds into something else that makes more sense for that ending. It's not necessarily that it's bad, but I don't think it's well suited to the rest of the track. Maybe you could argue it bleeds into the next song on this album well enough, but just, I don't know. It's like a minute of something completely different from what we're given. Like stylistically it feels a little differently, tonally it feels a little differently, the key has changed, so I don't know. It's just strange choice on that one. Not necessarily bad, but not necessarily suited either. Well, let's see how well it ties in with a nearly 10-minute song now. Speaking of long Frank Zappa jams, song number 10, The Torture Never Stops.
Flies all green and buzzing stops.
Alrighty then. Very long one there. Song number 3, The Torture Never Stops. Well, apparently it does, 9 minutes and 48 seconds in. I don't refer to it as torture, though. The song's fine. It's fine. I don't dislike it at all, so just a joke. Anyways, um, this just seems even darker than the previous track, which is so interesting considering like Zappa. I mean, he can fringe on darker territory sometimes, especially lyrically. Um, because I mean, obviously he's been through some fucked up shit in his life, or did go through some fucked up shit in his life. But yeah, this one's definitely one of the darker, if not the darkest one on the album for sure. Lyrically and instrumentally, just it's very dread-inducing all the way through. And Frank's very low baritone vocals in this one really kind of enhances that feeling too. And then you have like the screams that happen through the song, and they stretch on for so long. They keep popping up throughout the entire thing. It's just like it gets hard to just sit through a casual listen of this one. And it can be even harder when you realize that apparently, if it's to be believed, it was recorded, the screams specifically were recorded in Frank Zappa's bedroom between him, his wife, and a third person that he did not name or like even really refer to all that much, just a friend. And it's implied that they had sex and recorded the audio. So the women screaming in this song, yeah, apparently that's just straight up fucking. So the torture never stops, I guess. I don't really know. Like, it's a very interesting choice. So if that is true, then yeah, it can be kind of weird to just sit there and like listen to them sexually screaming for a very long time over top of a very, very slow jam. But there, aside from that, there's a lot of cool textural play all over this song. I really like it. Like the muffled guitar passages and then this like stereo wavy keyboard sound, I think are like the real drivers of that feeling too. I think it sounds pretty nice. Just very nice. It's like it's not too forward facing. It's not taking up too much space, but it's filling up the soundscape really nicely and just I appreciate what it sounds like in headphones. How about that? But yeah, like nearly 10 minutes is like pretty lengthy for the pacing of the song. It's a very, very slow and dreadful type of pace. Dreadful in the way, as I said, it's a dread inducing song, not that it's dreadfully bad or anything like that. That and the screams can be awkward if like anyone walks in on you listening to this song. What the hell are you listening to? And then you have to, it's like, no, it's torture. I mean, it's not torture. Did you know that they were having sex? Like, how do you even explain it to people? Just tell them to shut up and enjoy the song, I guess. I don't know. It's still a decent track, though. Very long, so make sure that you have the time for it because this one feels very slow to get through because of its pacing. The next one's not nearly as long, though. Song number 4, Miss Pinky. Shoot it till your wife gets back. I got a girl with a little rubber head. All right, I probably just pause it there because it's fading out anyways, and before we get to the next song. Song number 4, Miss Pinky. So from torture and potential sex to more sex, I suppose, because apparently the song is about the use of a sex toy. And particularly Frank possibly endorsing one. Not said which one, that it's called Miss Pinky. So there you go. So yeah, take that as you will. $69.95. I don't know, boy. Give it a try. Why not? As for the rest of the song itself, very low and crunchy tones in this one too. Like very grimy tone to this one, but it works. I really do enjoy the sound of this one. And I'm pretty sure I make a note of this a little later in the album, but this whole album was kind of inspired by certain heavy metal acts of the time. None specifically mentioned, but just that heavy metal as a thing at that point played a big inspiration to this particular album. And so like some of these lower, crunchier tones definitely come from that, and it's heard really well. Zappa's obviously not a heavy metal guy himself, but just even playing with it a little bit in the music, I think is kind of fun. It works well here. I do enjoy that. Not a ton to this song for me to grab onto, but it's still fun in the moments that it has. I mean, you get this like crazy little harmonica solo from Captain Beefheart. He has a couple of moments on this album. Here's one of them for sure. And I mean, like, why not? Because it definitely kind of fits the quirky atmosphere and the overall composition of the track. So might as well just play around and have fun with it. But it's a bit of an uneventful ending to the song, unfortunately. I'm not really looking for anything too big, but it just kind of feels like he didn't know where else to take it and just kind of just repeated some things over and over again, like he was going into another verse and just faded out. Like it just, I don't know, it felt like it didn't really go anywhere, unfortunately, and that it kind of sucks because like the song's fun in of itself, but yeah, I don't know, it just kind of felt like it hit a wall and had to stop at some point, so he did. Which I mean, it's a weird thing to say because Frank Zappa is a very intelligent composer. Was a very intelligent composer. Uh, has a massive, ungodly amount of albums to prove it. But yeah, like this is why this particular album, like for example, didn't stand too high in his discography. Um, it is what it is. But again, it's not the worst song ever or anything like that. I'm just disappointed in how it finished out. Let's say that much. Well, let's see how I feel about the next song for sure. Song number 5, Find Her Finer.
You gotta play it straight from the heart, she grew. Sneak up behind her, rap like a mummy.
I might as well just pause it there because it just gets quieter and quieter for the next handful of seconds. Song number 5, Find Her Finer. Really digging a lot of the mellow layers scattered all throughout this one. Like such a slow pace, but I actually really like this one. The acoustic guitar is great in the background. That synth bass actually works really well on top of the real bass going on too. Just everything just feels a little more chunky with it, but it's just a nice texture to play with. And I mean, like the harmonica is a really nice touch too. Again, Captain Beefheart makes an appearance, and it's not as chaotic as the previous song that he was in, Miss Pinky. This one's definitely feels bluesier with the harmonica, and I just kind of like the touch of it. Just very nice. And again, those low vocals are just doing a great job of setting the mood. So there's a lot to enjoy about this one. It's a very warm sounding track. But on that note, a lot of wet mouth noises from Zappa. Like his mouth is like right on the microphone, and you can hear his mouth open. You can hear the spit in his mouth. Like, I don't know. So if you dig low voices in ASMR, then you'll probably really like this one. And also, I don't have this written as a note, but I did read this, so I'm going to bring it up real quick too. The Gwine renunciate you line. What the fuck does that mean, you might ask? Well, apparently Zappa liked to just make words and mix words up and have his own meaning to them. I'm not exactly sure what it means, but Gwine renunciate you. It's like he's like the modern day Shakespeare's, and he just making shit up as he goes along. But what's even funnier is what I didn't notice until this very listen, as I'm sitting here listening to the album with you right now, is when he says Gwine renunciate. If you listen close enough, you can actually hear him laughing in one of the earphones, like very quietly, but you can hear it. And I really appreciated that. I thought that's very fun. It happens more than once in Zappa songs where he'll crack up laughing at something that's happening. Have you ever heard the Muffin Man before? When he's doing that very dramatic reading in the first like 2 minutes of the song, and he cracks himself up, and he just like, okay, let's start that again. And he's like, it's actively going on. I love that shit. I think it's funny. And remember, folks, it is okay to laugh at your own jokes. You're telling the joke because you think it's funny, so therefore you're allowed to laugh at it. Okay, you have my seal of approval. I'm sure you have Zappa's too, I guess. But yeah, good song all around. I really like this one. The ending really works well with this one as well. I like the different chord progression to close it out. And the additional vocal layers. It's just simple, but it's just a cool little layer too. I'm just trying to like collect my thoughts here, but the ending, you could almost argue that he kind of like backed himself into like another one of these like weird just fade out endings. But again, the chord progression was different. There was more added to it, so I just really enjoyed this one over some of the others. So good stuff. I've always liked this one. This has been one of my favorites on the album for sure. But let's see how I feel about song number 6, Friendly Little Finger. And we're just gonna pause it there. Stop. No. You can't go into Wonderful Wino yet. I missed the play button while I was bouncing up and down enjoying the horn section there. Song number 6, Friendly Little Finger. Just a very wild instrumental in that one. Like it goes beyond being jazzy at this point. It's just straight up improv off the floor. That's what it feels like at the very least. So apparently this song was made with a compositional technique thought to be originated by Zappa himself. It could be older than him too. I don't know. I'm only going by the minor things that I read. But it's called xenochrony. I don't know. It's a weird spelling. I don't even think I've ever heard this word in my goddamn life. It's apparently when you lift a portion of a song, in this case for this particular song would be the soloing guitar. It was lifted from another track and then you insert it to a completely different track, i.e. Bozio and Zappa jamming on bass and drums. And so then it just makes this entire different beast, an exquisite corpse, if you will, like something of that nature, even though it's like the same guy doing the guitar solo and the bass, but it still just feels like a very exquisite corpse-esque type of art presentation here. So I imagine like Zappa and Bozio just jamming on the bass and the drums, and then maybe Zappa knew that he wanted to throw that in, so it's like, we have this length of time to do this, so let's just do it, and here's kind of the pacing of it, and good luck, I guess. So it's just wild all over the place. It's so hard to meet or anything about it, but it's still very interesting. I still really like it. I've always enjoyed it. Definitely a fun jam all around. I really like what the bass does in this song too, because again, it's Zappa on bass, and there's a lot of really cool, just fun, kind of crazy experimental moments. Like a lot of cool grooves that happen. Like these little grooves are like sprinkled in that I really, really enjoy. Everything is just kind of doing whatever the hell it wants, but then somehow manages to meet in the middle somehow. So I really like it. I really respect it. When I first started listening to something a long time ago, never really cared for this track, but as I've gotten older, in my mid-30s, I mean, even before I hit my mid-30s, like I was appreciating the song more and more, and like just the absolute creativity of it, and just, I don't know, it's wild. It's fun. It's so good. I like this one. It's fantastic. Well, it's good and fantastic, but how is song number 7? Wonderful Wino, you know, the one that I couldn't pause in time? Well, anyways, here it is.
Start talking dirty. Boy, she looked old, been drinking all night till my eyes got red. Go to a $5 bill and a floor shine shoe.
And as it fades out, I'll pause it right there, even though there's still a bit of a solo going on, but there's only like 3 seconds left. Song number 7, Wonderful Wino. I would argue that this is probably the heaviest song on the entire album. And as I had mentioned earlier, as I said, this note would come back up. This album was inspired by heavy metal music, the scene at the time. And remember, this is 1976. It's not the metal that you might be aware of nowadays, or even in the 90s or 80s or something like that. It was like the classic version of heavy metal. So, like, I can see where the inspiration is in the song. Obviously, it's not a quote-unquote metal track, but you can definitely hear in the crunchy guitars and just kind of like the heavier, chunkier kind of progression of the song. I think it's really great. Everything about this one is super fun. It really, really is. The keys, the horns, the guitar's effects sprinkled like throughout the entire thing, the bass and drums, like literally nothing I don't think sounded great in this one. Everything sounded great in this one. That's what I'm trying to say. Just, this one's a lot of fun. Like, probably one of the more fun, if not the most fun song on the entire album. Like, especially toward the end, as like the bass gets a little more droning. Just like, I really love the flow that gives, and it just feels so good. Like, kind of playing out towards the end, then you get a bit of a guitar solo going on. It's so good. I'm all about this song. Wonderful Wino is a fantastic track. Always has been. Shame on all of you for letting this only have 470,570 streams on Spotify as of me doing this episode. Go ahead and bump that number up a little bit. Wonderful Wino deserves it. Looking at some of the numbers just now is kind of wild. The Torture Never Stops, though, having over 1 million. That's crazy. I know that was like a live staple throughout his career, so I get it, I guess. But wow, couldn't have expected that. But hey, look at that. The title track is the second most streamed song on this entire album. Song number 8, Zoot Allures. Why did it have to fade out there? Why does it have to fade out there? Like, seriously. That was a 40-second fade on just a great part of the song with that guitar solo. I'll get into that in a second, I guess. Song number 8, the title track, Zoot Allures. God, I should... First off, I should have written a note about this. It's not spelled the exact way it is in French. I think it's something exclaimed by royalty in French. I could be wrong about that. I'm probably remembering that incorrectly. I apologize if I am. And also, I'm in the middle of learning French right now. I guess specifically French Canadian, so maybe it'd be a little more off of what Zappa's saying here. But I should get more into like knowing what the hell that even means. But anyways, now that you know that little bit, I guess with a grain of salt there. This song, I mean, it's such a pretty and chill instrumental track. I love this. I mean, those clean strings do a lot for that feeling, and then plus you have this bass that just feels really playful at certain times, very smooth, just never feels like overwhelming, and just it jams just as much as the guitar does, which feels fantastic. And that second half is great too. As I said, I'd make a note about this. The second half of the song is fantastic because like the song just kind of continues. It still feels good as it's going. I just wish it lasted a little longer because then you get this really cool guitar solo going in, and you can hear the xylophones going crazy in the background, but it's just very chill. Like this like tropical feeling of just like warmth and just I'm really really enjoying this. But then it's just it fades before like it even has a chance to peak. Like man, it sucks. I can only imagine that the live version of the song, and I could very well just go online and find a live version and probably be proven right by this. I can imagine the live version is extended by quite a bit. I imagine that second half probably rings on forever and ever and ever in a jam session. So maybe I'll do that, but for the album version itself, it's unfortunate that it kind of gets cut a little short. I get that it's a record from the 70s and they had like time constraints, like 42 minutes is a decent amount of time for like a 70s record. So just man, I gotta hear. I'm gonna have to hear a live version. I'm probably gonna do that after I'm done recording this for sure. But I will say for this album version, it's still a fantastic track. I'm not gonna like detract anything from it. Like I've always loved this one. Fantastic title track. Cool that it's an instrumental too. It does a lot. Really enjoy it. Fantastic stuff. But now we can go on to the final song of the album and the other single of the album, song number 9, Disco Boy. That's going to get annoying real quick, isn't it?
Disco boy, go, so wipe your nose and try it again.
As the last little bit of that song fades away, I'll just pause it and say song number 9, Disco Boy, the final song on the album. Now, there are things that I do like about this song. Like the guitars, for example, both the clean and overdriven ones. I think they sound great. The drums have a good feel and sound to them in this one. But other things like the falsettos really bother me, like even more than it did Wind Up Working at the Gas Station. Just this one kind of annoys me, especially with how often it pops up. And actually, I don't think Frank's baritone vocals really do much for this song. Like, I don't really know what else he could have done. And obviously, he's a way fucking better musician than anyone else could be. But I feel like he could have done better with this one, like singing wise at the very least. It sounds like his heart wasn't into it. It sounds like he wanted to belt out a little more and just didn't. Like, I don't know. It's very strange. It's like he was recording at 4 a.m. and didn't want to like wake anyone up or something like that. It's just so strange. Just wasn't doing it for me. That's really unfortunate, you know? And even with that too, like this one I feel like stretches on just a bit too much. I mean, 5.5 minutes, and this is a song that did not need to be 5.5 minutes. And that's saying a lot for Frank Zappa, who is known for doing long songs. This one didn't have to be one of them. It's fine. Like, as much as some of the guitar and synth layers were, like, good in that stretch, they sounded fine, I don't think it was enough to justify the runtime of the song. I don't know. Like, I don't see how this one was a single, to be 100% honest. And I'm looking at the streaming numbers, 589,000. Like, hell, you could have made Black Napkins like the other single. You could have, like, Miss Pinky or Wonderful Wino would have been a much better single. But Disco Boy, I don't know. I'm not feeling this. I'm going to be honest. I've never really liked Disco Boy. There's a few songs like that, I love a lot of like Zappa's earlier stuff. The 80s stuff I'm okay with, but the 70s stuff is where I'm really shining with him. But Disco Boy is to me is one of the lower points of what I would consider to be good Zappa from that time. And by all means, maybe you like this song a hell of a lot more than I do. And by all means, you can tell me why you like it and what you find so appealing about it. I would love to hear that. By all means, I really would. Just for me, it doesn't do it for me. I'm not a big fan of this song. I don't think it's the best ender to the album. If this was in the middle of the album, then maybe I could accept it. But this is the end of the album. I don't know. Zoot Allures would have been way better just fading it out. I think that would have been way, way better. But it is what it is, and that was Disco Boy. I wasn't huge on it. But with that said, that was the entire album itself of Zoot Allures. So my headphones go down and they don't fall this time because I think I have that situation fixed. Awesome. That is the end of the album. So it's cool that you made it this far with me. I hope that you did. I hope they have an opinion on it. But wait, you're going to have more opinions because we're not done yet. There's still 2 more things we have to do, and they're much quicker than actually reviewing the album. First off, taking Spotify off the screen. There it goes. It fades away. And then the numbers are there. 1 through 9, of course. There's only 9 songs on this album. Not very long at all. 42 minutes. But yes, it's time to rank the songs 1 through 9. How did I feel about them? Least favorite to favorite, not so great to great, least preferred to preferred, however you want to cut the cake. I left you the knife. I left you the cake. I handed you 9 plates. Please do your duty and cut the cake. Oh, wait, you want me to do that? I guess I have to be the first one to actually slice, make the first slice, right? That's how this whole thing is. That's why I have the channel that reviews music. Anyways, still curious to hear your opinions about it, but here are my particular rankings for this album. Number 9, Disco Boy. Number 8, Miss Pinky. 7, Wind Up Working in a Gas Station. 6, The Torture Never Stops. 5, Black Napkins. 4, Friendly Little Finger. 3, Find Her Finer. 2, Zoot Allures, because number 1 has to go to Wonderful Wino. As much as I love Zoot Allures, Wonderful Wino just does it a little bit more for me. It's a hell of a lot more fun. And it actually has Frank singing too, so you get a little bit of absolutely everything going with it. Fantastic stuff. Again, an album with high and low points and everything like that, and you can clearly see that, again, not the best album in his entire discography, but it's not bad. It's not bad at all. As a matter of fact, I can tell you how not bad it really was by sending the numbers off the screen and then bringing the words on. It's time to rate the record. We're going to rate the record now. That's what we have to do. I have to tell you how I feel about it. Those were the songs. And I said, it's not bad. Well, how not bad is it? I anticipated this being in the B tier, 100%. When I chose this album and I looked at it, I was like, yeah, mid B tier would be the higher version of this album, I'm guessing. No, I surprised myself. A-. This came out to a dead even 80%, 0.00% A- album. Here's the kicker. Here's the fun part that I realized. There's a bunch of albums at 80 already. There's Gary Newman. There's Ozzy Osbourne. I believe April Wine was also an 80. But here's the best part. The other Frank Zappa album is also an 80% even. Now, to be fair, there were 2 of us who rated that album, and I rated, that was Apostrophe, and I rated that much higher. I really adore that album. So our combined scores brought it to 80, but my solo score brought this one to 80. So I have 2 Frank Zappa albums sitting at an exact 80 right now, which feels very strange to me. I will not negate any of Savannah's past scores, obviously. I won't do that, so it has to remain that way. But who knows? Maybe next time I'll just pick, maybe I'll do Chic Your Booty next time. I really like that album too, so I can make that one go above the 80 mark for sure. One day we'll do that. Who knows? But in the meantime, I'm going to let that drift away and going to cut off this episode. So, hey, you know what? We're at the end. Thank you very much for joining me today, hanging out and listening to this album. And if you did indeed listen to this album right here, wait, I can do the soy jack. There you go. That'd be a great thumbnail. If you listen to that album right there, if you're listening to the audio version, you have no idea what I just did. Let me know your opinions about this album. Do you like Frank Zappa? Do you like this album? Do you love it or hate it? How would you rank the songs? How would you rate the record? everything I want to know about this album and more, your opinion on it at the very least, please let me know down in the comments below. And there are comment sections everywhere, so you can let me know your opinion absolutely anywhere. You can also find the place to let me know your opinion over at ratetherecord.ca. As mentioned earlier, the streaming links, social media links, the RTR Club, and the RTR album chart, which you'll now see the stack of perfect 80 albums in there. And Frank Zappa will be there exactly twice now. That's absolutely crazy that that's a thing. And also, don't forget this little icon that just popped up on the screen. Like, subscribe, rate, share, comment, and follow. Those 6 quick, free, and easy things I can count that you can do to show your support for the show. So if you like today's episode, doing that now would be fantastic. And I truly appreciate the support. So thank you very much if you enjoyed it. And that means I hope that you'll enjoy what I bring next week. I hope to see you there. Until then, go listen to even more awesome music. Take care, friends.